So a Catholic and a Protestant walk into a podcast. You guys in the audience ducked. Yeah, that's the best I got.
I thought you were gonna be like Protestant and Catholic walk into a bar and an Irishman did not duck.
Well, the Irishman,
no, an Englishman, an Irishman, and a Scotsman, right? The Irish and the Scotsman walk into a bar and the Englishman doesn't duck. Forget it. They're all stupid. All right, everyone gets insulted. Hey, Mike, how's it going?
It's good, and welcome one and all on YouTube and in podcast land. You are listening to the Tangent Kings. Roll it. Welcome back, one and all, to the Tangent Kings podcast. I am G. Michael Francis, and I am here with my partner in crime, my man with the really good hat, Mr. Chet Benks. How you doing today, sir?
It took you 5 episodes to compliment me on my hat. Don't take your compliment. I spit on your compliment, boy!
Yes. My mother was a hamster, and my father smelt of elderberries.
Did you just quote Monty Python?
I thought you were quoting Monty Python.
No, I was just doing a random Scottish accent for no reason.
Oh,
right.
Well, it sounded like it almost sounded like the French guy from Monty Python.
Hello, English kiddickets.
Oh, here we go.
That's it. That was literally it. You thought I was gonna go on a spiel. I was like, nope. I quoted Monty Python quotes in middle school and high school.
We all did.
Yeah,
and except for Life of Brian.
Oh, I didn't quote that because they swore that one.
Well, that and it's kind of blasphemous.
Of course, it was very anti-Catholic.
Yeah, that's why the Vatican banned it.
They banned it?
Well, they put it on the no-no list.
Does that mean the Protestants have to watch it now? I can just picture like
Audience, do you see what I have to put up with?
I
put up with this for you.
I'm the victim here, guys. I'm oppressed. It'd be really funny if like a bunch of Protestants get together. They're like half drunk. They're like, guys, you want to just go off watch every movie the Pope banned? Like, yeah, let's do it, bro. Pass the blunt. Oh yeah, that's good. Something like that. I'm surprised you haven't been ribbing me for being Protestant. Well, now the door's open, so bring on the fire. But anyway.
Well, why would I? It's
funny.
Well, I don't have any good Protestant jokes.
Because there are none. It's only a Catholic. Checkmate.
Yeah. We've been getting it for the past 500 years. We're used to it.
I hope Haley's cheering right now. She's like, yay, religion jokes. I mean, she is part English, so she'd be like, hello, English, Irish, religion jokes, yay! She's mostly Irish, Mostly Irish.
Oh, that's somewhat ironic.
If I wanted to ever piss her off and be like, you're not Irish, you're Northern Irish. She'd be like, you take that back. You can call someone fat, big boned, or you call them ugly. You can insult their sister, insult their mother, say your nose is shite. No big deal. Say you're from Northern Ireland. Now it gets personal.
Yeah, kind of like calling a Pole a Russian.
Kulak's watching in the comments. Yay, cheeky breaky.
Oh, well, I don't know if you know this, but there's been amnesty between Poles and Russians for like centuries.
Really? I didn't know.
Did I say amnesty? I meant enmity.
Amnesty.
There should be amnesty.
If they're granting amnesty, Julian Assange should go there next. She'd be like, all right, boys, we're going to break Assange out of prison because Trump didn't pardon him. Send him to Poland. He'll get amnesty in Russia there. It's like, that's a typo. He got amnesty anyways.
Well, hey, here's an idea. You know how you know how everybody's saying that now the big tech giants have free reign on videos and content made in America?
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting to note is Poland made it illegal to do that, basically.
Is that fantastic?
Yeah, that's fantastic, which is why I think we should just send all of our content through Polish servers.
Can you imagine if I got married to a Polish girl and she could just translate everything? She'd be like, babe, I need you to translate all of our content into Polish and I'll pay you like $1 bazillion to do it. And she'd be like, yes, babe, I shall do that. No, that's not even a Polish accent. I don't even know what a Polish accent sounds like. I'm sorry if people from Poland are watching this, but that's sort of one accent. It's
kind of like a Russian accent, but it's more nasal.
Yeah.
But that's my personal interpretation of it. But I only picked up bits and pieces of it because when I went to church on Camp Lejeune, we actually had a lady who was from Poland.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and interesting story. She grew up in the communist era of Poland.
Oh wow, that sounds like a blast.
Well, she told me of how she had to receive First Holy Communion in a stable because the communist government wouldn't let him do it in the main church.
I'm surprised they even let him do it in the stable at all.
It was in secret, dude. That's the whole reason it was in the stable.
That's what I thought.
And then they actually had their parents around like the open walls of the stable because it was raining that day, and the parents stood around the walls or the openings in the stable to keep the rain out.
Wow, talk about persecution, man.
Yep. And we're talking about Poland, which at that time was about 80 to 90% Catholic.
Wow.
I think today's figures, it's more like 70 to 60%. But
Thank
still,
God
that's a pretty, it's what I call one of the Catholic powerhouses of Europe.
Thank God for the fall of the Soviet Union.
Amen. Although, I in a way, I still sort of pity the Russian people with what they have to deal with nowadays.
Did have to deal with and still deal with. Yeah, it's bad. At least it's Orthodox now. Not really. Oh man.
Well, I mean, yes, it's sort of on the face, really heavily Orthodox, but especially if you go to like Moscow and around that area, to my understanding, it's a facade. Especially, I'm going to step on a lot of toes here. I'm not a big fan of Patriarch Kirill.
Mm-hmm.
He had a habit of, at least from the sources that I've researched, he had a habit of turning in his brother bishops and priests into the KGB to further his own career.
Oh dear. That's not good at all.
And his predecessor was very anti-Catholic.
Oh dear, intensifies.
Yeah, Patriarch Alexei II. He had a habit of kicking out the Roman Catholic prelates, primate.
Prelates? Prelates or primates or primarchs?
Both.
Primarchs.
I'll just say patriarchs. That's a lot easier to remember. He actually worked with the Russian government to have the Catholic Archbishop of Moscow expelled from Russia.
Wow. It's interesting too. This is and this wasn't even part of the show notes, but this is such an interesting discussion. So I read in one of my books, the author's name is, the book is Strategic Relocation by Joel Skousen, I think his name is. And he's been, in the book, the book is about strategic relocation, like the title says, but one of the things he talked about was there is mounting evidence, right? Or maybe a better way of putting it is that there's quite a bit of evidence from insiders to suggest that perhaps the fall of the Soviet Union was just a facade, that it never really fell. And I'm like, I don't know if that's true or not. Well, but when I heard that, I'm like, that's interesting. I should look more into that.
And that is. And, considering Medvedev and Putin have been pretty much trading jobs for the past 30 years.
Yeah.
But, and actually, I'm going to backtrack a little bit because I do realize I sort of misspoke a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, relations between the Catholic Church and the Russian Orthodox Church are getting better.
Mm-hmm.
And Kirill seems to be backing off his hardline stats a little bit, which, is a credit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I did sort of misspeak, with the whole KGB thing. I think that was just alleged now that I think about it. But I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah. Well, we can look into it, and if there's a expert in the comments anywhere, feel free to comment or DM us.
And you know what?
Let us know.
If I'm wrong, give me the evidence. I'm not a proud man. If I'm wrong, I will be the first to admit that I am wrong.
I'm sure as hell proud. All the ego over here. Send that stuff my way, boys. Yeah.
And I just broke the pen.
You're like, Benks. And you're like, and I'm like, oh dear. I'm sorry. Have you ever seen the film? By the way, have you ever seen the film Tombstone?
No, I don't think.
So I've been binging clips from it, so I need to just watch the whole film. I heard everyone for years talk about Doc Holliday. I'm like, who the hell is Doc Holliday?
Oh, that Tombstone.
Yeah, Western film. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces of it. So
yeah, I'm the Doc Holliday. I don't know what you are. Maybe you're the Bill Paxton or the Wyatt Earp of the show. I don't know, but I'm definitely Doc Holliday.
No, I saw like bits and pieces of it once many years ago.
That sounds like a lot of people have, so I need to watch it one of these days. But
the memes are funny.
Oh yeah, it's freaking. I'm your Huckleberry.
I'm your Huckleberry.
I'm your Huckleberry. That's definitely me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'd shoot someone unless I'd have to, but if I got crazed and everything disintegrated before my eyes and I had like a brain aneurysm, I could probably do that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, brain aneurysm, hard to say. But also, this video has been sponsored by Magners. It's not
it hasn't.
By Magners. I was literally about to say that's an outright lie, but Magners, we love your. I love your stuff.
And yeah. And I didn't really get around to saying this last week, but I want to give a quick shout out to Ritter Creative for our wonderful cover designs.
Yeah. Is Ritter Creative watching our show?
I'll probably clip this in, make a clip of this and send it to them.
Oh, please do.
Yeah, because thank you guys so much. We are so impressed. We can't thank you guys enough.
Oh yeah, seriously. Like when I saw the logo, I was like, I'm floored by this. Like that's almost exact. Not what I had pictures in my mind, but that's pretty much the effect I was looking for. Like I've got this vague idea. They made it happen, so we definitely need to get more work with them in the future. Yep. It'll be really funny too. Is if we have like the episode 12 is Mike and Benks sell out, and then I'm like wearing all this Magners merch, and then you got the Ritter Creative merch along your wall. That would be hilarious.
Well, Ritter Creative is actually a small business, so
if they have a logo, maybe if they send me a logo, or if they have something like I could just have that right up here in the corner, because they did fantastic work with the logo. So I'd be happy to do some advertising for them for free. So they're fantastic.
Yep.
They'll be happy for the business.
Yeah, I just found them on Catholic Geeks, but yeah, I do not regret that decision. So,
are there Catholic Geek singles out there somewhere?
It wouldn't surprise me if there were.
I'm sure. I knew a few. They're great girls.
Anyway, shall I get on with the overview before we go completely off the rails? Because we're already 10 minutes into this thing.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's the best kind of segue. I was kind of hoping for this particular tangent that there's going to be a nice segue into the topics, but apparently one did not manifest itself on its own, so we'll just hop right into it then.
All right. So let's go over what we're talking about. So we're going to lead off with the Robin Hood / GameStop fiasco that's been going on, because that's fresh in the news, and oh my goodness, what a saga it is.
Well, let's raise some fresh hell and talk about that. So
I'm not done with the overview.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then we're going to go into something I saw in the news earlier this week, and it sent shivers down my spine. It is House Resolution 1 for the 117th Congress. And there are a couple points I want to bring up, which, like I said, sent shivers down my spine. It made my blood run cold. Mm-hmm. And if we have time, on Facebook, I do follow a few Antifa groups. Because sometimes I need a laugh from an ideology, not an organization. So yeah, I saw one post they made, and I laughed, I cried, it moved me, Bob.
I understood that reference.
I am not surprised.
I was thinking, like, is he actually going to quote VeggieTales? And I'm like, he did! He did! That's fantastic.
Yeah. And did you get a book quote for tonight?
Oh, I do. I always have a book quote.
Good. Then we'll do the book quote, and then we'll call it a night. How's that sound?
Sounds great to me. Let's do it.
All right, let's get into this. So, Benks, lead us off with the Robinhood GameStop fiasco.
All right. So, for those of you who have not been following the news, which, let's face it, the news is either super hyper negative and partisan, or you watch some third-party news and you're like, oh, well, isn't that interesting? And this has been one of the most interesting weeks. So far,
putting it mildly,
one of the most interesting weeks to start out the brand new year. And 2021, as a sequel to 2020, definitely lives up to the hype. So, for lack of a better term, so I'm going to preface this before I start speaking and say I don't understand stocks. The stock market is completely foreign to me, right? I'm still learning this, but this is kind of the information that I've gathered from it. So what had happened was that there were several failing stocks: AMC, Express, GameStop, and I think Bath and Body Works. I think that's what it was. My
wife loves Bath and Body Works, so when she hears this is gonna
she's gonna wreck her day. She's gonna grab you by the collar shirt, like, what did he say about my Body Works? But no, I kid you. But it's, for example, I love Express, like the clothing manufacturer. Like, that's 90% of my closet is Express. And I love them. I love them a lot. And they're the only clothing manufacturer I swear by. And so I don't want them to go under. But yeah, so it's those stocks, but most famously GameStop, because who the hell shops at GameStop right now?
Nobody, because you can just get most of it off of Steam.
Well, yeah. And then also the salesmen are extremely pushy. And even when they're not, they kind of go back and forth.
Misgender people.
How dare you? I'm happy I never went into sales at GameStop. I offered a job there, and I'm like, I'm not going to take a job at GameStop. I don't believe in this because, the AAA gaming industry, just for a brief example, is very shillilicious, shall I say. And anyway, so what had happened was that you've got these big hedge fund groups that were putting a big squeeze on them. There's, basically, like, these companies are going to declare bankruptcy soon. They're weakening. They're almost worth nothing. We're going to squeeze them out. We're going to squeeze them out of whatever they're worth. And for lack of a better way of putting it, in this move, they think, well, nothing's going to happen because we're perfectly fine. A bunch of guys on Reddit, a bunch of posters on Reddit, random guys in their basements said, nah, brah. And decided that they're going to, I don't remember exactly, they shorted it. They shorted the stocks. So to the degree that Wall Street, specifically these big, like, brutally ruthless corporate guys at Wall Street, lost $70 billion. It's almost like that scene from, if you recall, Batman Begins, right? Where it's the beginning of the scene where the guys where it's Henry Deckard and Christian Bale, Batman. They're fighting on ice. They're having this duel on ice. And then Christian Bale gets the upper hand and he knocks him to the ground, and he's got his knife. He's got a sword to him. He says, "You're beaten." And he says, "I'm not beaten." Henry Descartes says he's laying on his back on the ice and he says, "You've sacrificed your footing for a killing blow." And he takes his sword, jams the ice down, and Christian Bale falls into the ice or falls into the icy water below. And that's kind of what happened here. And we've also found out that it's like that line from Fallout New Vegas. It's like you think this is just a run of bad luck, but then you realize the game's been rigged from the start. And that's exactly what it is. Wall Street is rigged it's this appearance of free market capitalism when the reality is that it's crony capitalism, it's corporatism. I read a YouTube comment that kind of summed up the whole thing like this. When the little guy loses, no one gives a crap and the little guy suffers. When the big guys lose, they shut off the game. And I think I posted that in Bleep Masters too.
Yeah, that's a fair point. You mind if I just mention, because you sort of brought up short sale. You mind if I just really quick explain what that is for our audience?
Please do.
So basically, the concept of a short sale is, a hedge fund manager. You see the stock going down. They'll say, "Oh, look, whoever holds a share in it, we'll borrow that share from you guys." And we'll hold on to it, and then we'll give it back to you, and we'll give you interest on it. So, they borrow the shares, and they actually immediately sell them, and then the price keeps going down, 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 down. By the way, for example, let's say GameStop stock is at $20 a share.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you have 10 shares. So I borrow your 10 shares and I sell it in my name. And, we get $200. And, price goes down till it's like, we'll say $1 a share. I buy back those 10 shares. So now I have a grand total of $190 in profit. Now what I do is I'll give you the stocks back with whatever I promised you in terms of financial compensation, and I pocket the rest as profit. So that's the basic concept of a short sale.
Yeah. And a squeeze is almost like when that happens in mass. It sounds like I'm still kind of learning this myself. But needless to say, Wall Street got demolished. And the first thing they do, it not only shows you all the strings of the system in 1, 2 or 3 days period of span, the first thing they do is go running and crying to the feds. The first thing they do. And then the feds were, I think the latest attorney general, whatever his name is, was talking about this is moral and outrageous situation, and how dare they do this and violating the sacred duty of the free market. He's like, get out of here. Go pontificate somewhere else, you jackass.
First off, the verb is profligate. Second of all, is our new AG Bane?
It is now. It wasn't until you said it. New Age Bane. You merely adopted the Buddhism. I invented it. Was molded by it. Biden just pulls off his mask. It's Bane the whole time. Oh, see, that makes more sense. It's all facade.
Yeah,
maybe that would make more sense.
Could you imagine how this situation would have played out differently if we still had Trump in the White House?
Oh yeah, there's no way this would have happened. There's no way.
Yeah.
I don't think this would have happened. One thing I like about that's an unrelated thing. So anyway, so on point, the feds are just like, and then Elizabeth Warren, who's a voice of the people, she's like, yeah, this is really immoral what happened, and there should be an investigation, and I'm totally not being prompted because I'm like cute and popular for no reason. Yay! I guess you see her. I watched her in the debates, for example, like a few years back. She's like, "Oh boy, is it my turn? Do I get attention now?" And then she just like we got a Elizabeth Warren. It's like, "I'm running for the Democratic candidacy. You should vote for me." We got one of her door hangings on our door, and then literally the next week, she dropped out, and then we took in big bold Sharpies, dial L for loser, Elizabeth Warren, and I drew a mustache on her, and I'm like, I'm not sorry for that. But yeah, the voice of the people is like, for which, how much of the people, does anybody care what she says anymore? Because I don't know what credibility she has, but what do I know, right? I'm just a guy wearing a Wario cap with a living in the bowels of Minnesota. What do I know? But anyway, so the elites, right? Mm-hmm. They're complaining about it. CNN's freaking out. Everybody's freaking out, but that's the elites. The little guy, they said, wait. So you're telling me that I can make money ethically and stick it to these really bad people that screwed a lot of people out of money back 10 years ago? You son of a... I'm in. Yeah, it's like that. So but here's the thing. Here's the point I wanted to make as well, or bring up. So Peter Schiff, who's apparently a well-known economist, has said, and also a couple articles on InfoWars today, were saying that on the forums of where these Redditors are, these guys that shorted GameStop stocks, they sound like they're targeting silver next. And the thing is that if they're targeting silver, there's more implications here. They're not just trading in otherwise worthless companies, right? Like they're, it's overinflated, right? The stocks are overinflated, that they're more valuable than they really are, right? They're actually trading something of value. And that could crash if they go through with doing that, going for silver next. Not only is the price of silver going to go up crazy, right? Big companies like JP Morgan, among others, like this is really, really going to hurt a lot of financial institutions in the world. So it's anyone's game. I don't know what's going to happen, but all us populists, left and right populists, were like, yay, high-fiving each other, like, hey, we agree on something now.
Which will last precisely 5 seconds.
I'll enjoy those 5 seconds. Be like, hey, let's have a drink. I know you'll go backstabbing me in a second, but let's see if I have a 5 seconds apiece. It's fine by me. Mm-hmm. Because maybe we can make that an extra, after 5 seconds with a beer together, maybe we can make it a grand total of 6 seconds.
And enjoying a wonderful sea shanty to boot. Yeah, I showed him it, I showed Benks this right before the show. Someone had made a sea shanty about this situation. It's a little funny. I got to admit, it's a little funny.
Just a little bit?
Anyway, here's what I was talking
about. I pity you. You're projecting.
And I forgot to rewind it, but here's what I'm talking about, folks.
There once was a stock that put to sea. The name of the stock was GME. The price blew up and the shorts dipped down. Hold my bully boys, hold. Soon may the tendy man come to send a rocket into the sun. One day when the trading is done, we'll take our gains and go. She had not been 2 weeks from shore when Ryan Cohen joined the board. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take his shares and hold. Soon may the tendy man come to send a rocket into the sun. One day when the trading is done, we'll take our gains and go.
I think I'm gonna put that in my playlist.
Oh, you should. You should. It'd be really cool, Mike, is if we did like it's unrelated. Do Tangent Kings, like commission some people to do some music for us, and do it'd be really cool if we had like a Zoom overlay where we'd just be Tangent King style for all our video viewers. That'd be cool.
Interesting concept. I'll get Catholic Geeks right on that.
Well, let me know how much it is. I'll pay for it. So,
but
yes, but that's kind of what's going on with the stock market, is that the big boys don't like losing, and they're upset because they got outplayed. And I don't think anybody's shedding a tear for them. I think the media is trying to say you should be outraged too. It's like, why? Because
it's like 10 years ago, you guys were praying for this moment.
Yeah, it's like 10 years ago, all the guys that occupy Wall Street was like, well, I'm really pissed off and I can't do anything about it. Want to take over Park? Yeah. Nothing happened. 10 years later, it's like, you want to like actually disrupt their stocks and make some good ethical money out of it? And they're like, yeah. It's like, see, it's like, you should be very, very outraged like we are. And I'm sitting over here like, but why though? So, needless to say, it's an interesting situation. I'm kind of curious what the price of silver is going to do in the next few months and what the price of Bitcoin is going to do as well.
Well,
But
we shall see.
it's probably a good time to buy silver if you guys don't have any. So, see what happens.
You know, unfortunately, those channels have been stopped.
Yeah.
Called by Reddit and what else was it on?
Discord.
Thank you.
Yeah. Apparently, Discord's cracking down on this stuff. When you put enough pressure on Discord publicly, they'll delete any Discord server they want.
It's
Yeah.
You gotta love this new system run by Gobbles Tech. I mean Big Tech.
Goebbels. Bless you. Gesundheit. Well, also that they just, like you said, they shut down trading. Like, oh, I'm sorry, you broke the rules too much, so we have to stop you from breaking the rules just because it's in the name of your protection. With the Robinhood app specifically, was that this is the app people were largely using to conduct a lot of these short trades. And they said not only are we going to stop you from buying GameStop stock, but we're also going to stop. We're going to actually sell your share, make you sell, and you're like, screw you, man. And it just shows you like that's the whole thing with power. The whole reason with power, of course, people, it's like Stephen Molyneux pointed out, of course people in power are hypocrites. Of course they don't play by their own rules. That's the reason they're in power. That's the reason why they like power, is because they can break the rules as much as they want and not get in trouble. That's the reason why power is so addicting. That's the reason why it's fun, because you get this dopamine hit every time. It's like, oh, I could just poke you as much as I want and you can't do anything about it. It's like that.
It kind of reminds me of that old commercial. I can't remember what the product was anymore, but it had that boy, kind of pointing at his sister going, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. Oh, yeah. God. What was that for?
You see it everywhere. That used to be the joke like 15 years ago. It's like, I'm not touching you. It's just like, yes, you are touching me, you little f***. Leave me alone. It's like, Beatrice, why are you swearing at your brother? That's so bad. But he's touching me. It's like, is he touching you? I'm not touching her. See, he's not touching you.
Yeah, why don't you just poke his eyes out then?
Okay.
Yeah, that's the wrong answer.
Wrong answer, kid. It escalates from like, I'm not touching you to like a family drama Tarantino shit out in 15 seconds.
Meanwhile, I'm over here making Ken Davis references.
I remember that comedian.
Yeah, I got to see him live once, and I was so close to getting his autograph, but I couldn't. 12-year-old me couldn't work up the courage.
Yeah, a lot of people are shy when they're young. I used to be.
But overall, this Robinhood GameStop thing, we both find it somewhat hilarious. Agreed? Somewhat hilarious?
More like freaking hilarious.
Yeah. And if you don't find it hilarious, well, all I gotta say to you is, thank you. I had to make that reference. I was looking for an excuse to use that, and I used it. So. Yeah. Anyway,
but yeah, that's kind of all I have. It's an interesting time to get involved in stocks, and I'm really interested all of a sudden. So we'll see what happens.
But speaking of, seeing what happens, my wife and I went out to dinner a couple nights ago.
Outrageous!
Oh, hush! I've only just started.
In the words of Frollo, witchcraft. Wife and going out to dinner with your wife. How dare. It's like you have some kind of happy, healthy relationship. What?
It's not that controversial. Oh, wait a minute. This is
It's a joke.
This is 21st century America. Of course, it's controversial.
200 years ago, that's not controversial. 200 years later, get the pitchfork. A happy husband and a happy wife. I can't exist.
Oh, it's not like I committed a cardinal sin by asking my wife's permission before I meet with a woman.
Well, it depends who you ask. Who you ask on Twitter.
Anyway, on the news was...
You know I'm right about that.
Honestly, I forgot what you were talking about.
Forget it. Keep going.
So anyway, the thing that came up on the news sort of caught my attention right away.
Mm-hmm.
It was about House Resolution 1 for the 117th Congress. It's also known as the For the People Act. And, from what I heard on the newscast, and when I did some light reading of it myself, that right there was the beginning of a nightmare.
How so?
Well, overall, this act, if it passes and Biden signs it, which he probably will, this brings elections, both, to my understanding, both federal and state, more under the control of the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
And two things in particular popped up, which made my blood run cold. One of them was same-day voter registration, and the other one was registration of minors. I mean, there's plenty of other things, in that in the act, but like anything that comes out of Washington, what can be settled in one page comes out in like 5 million. And it's in like some weird dialect of legalese.
The boys are just fresh out of their diapers, but they're ready to vote. All right. Signed,
pretty much.
Nancy Pelosi.
But anyway, on to the first thing that caught my eye was, same-day voter registration. And this is directly out of Section 1031 in the For the People Act, which as it stands in Congress today, introduced on the 4th of this month. Mm-hmm. It reads, each state shall permit any eligible individual on the day of a federal election and on any day when voting, including early voting, is permitted for a federal election, A, to register to vote in such election at the polling place using a form that meets the requirements under Section 9B of the Voter Registration Act of 1993. B, to cast a vote in such an election. Now, the purpose that I found, doing my light reading of this bill is, it claims that the federal government is responsible for making sure everybody is registered to vote. No, it's not. I mean, we're a country founded on individual responsibility, per se. It's your responsibility to make sure you're registered to vote. And it's not like you don't get noticed nowadays. I mean, most people nowadays have access to the internet. And I don't know how many times I saw Facebook ads, I saw Republican Party ads, Democratic Party ads. I actually saw those more than I saw Republican, even though on Facebook I'm listed as a Catholic monarchist, which I sort of put in as a semi-joke. But yeah, ads from both parties. The Green Party, of all people, even came across my feed. And you go onto YouTube, there was like every other ad in an hour-long video was, hey, have you registered to vote? There's signs up everywhere. People have families. They talk about registering for vote all the time. At least members of my family do. It's like, it's coming. So it's on you at that point. Go register. Register to vote. And in the state of Tennessee, at least, it's not that difficult. You can get it with your driver's license, even if it's not one of the star things. I forget what it's called, Real ID, something like that. But it was like some star program. I don't remember what it was, where you needed like 8 forms of identification. Mm-hmm. But you can get that with just a normal license, which is one of those ones that says not to be used as a federal identification. But yeah, you can do your voter registration, and you just fill out a couple lines, you show them an envelope, and you're done. But anyway, that little rant aside.
You know why they want to do same-day registration, right?
Yeah, because it'll be harder to prove that they are actually either A, who they say they are, or B, that they're actually eligible.
You also count on illegal immigrants taking advantage of that as well. Or not the illegal immigrants themselves, but do you know how many people you could just register that way? Like you could just register as many votes as you need. Say we need
especially when you're going straight from the table of registration straight to the polling booth. Good luck trying to verify their eligibility in the 10 seconds it takes to go there.
And that's the whole point. They don't want to verify it. They just want enough to say, oh yeah, what they want to do is not only, they're scared of the people, they're scared of the populist movement that Trump has started. Not I shouldn't say started, I should say it's more of ignited. Mm-hmm. It's already been building since Obama's second term.
Which actually adds another layer of scariness on this, because this is coming from the same people who claim that, if you ask for any form of identification at the polling place, you're engaging in voter suppression.
Yeah.
And or racism.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the funny thing is that I think this is Wall Street stuff going on, and also what's going on with this resolution is that what we're realizing is that the rules that apply, they say the rules apply to everyone, but what they're really saying is that the rules just apply to you. The rules apply to the powerless, to the people that, I sound like a communist. The rules apply to a powerless people. It applies only to the proletariat. It's kind of funny how the people that espouse socialism and communism are the people that are the most like Marx's definition of the bourgeoisie. But Marxists create the system that they criticize more often than not. Not always, but more often than not. Usually, I mean, radicals in general do that. They tend to create the enemies that they denounce, but in this context, yeah. But I mean, Stephen Mullen, who put it really well, is like, you can either laugh or you can cry. And mm-hmm. I kind of got my crying out of the way. So it's like, why talk about, he's of the persuasion that why talk about politics? It's totally in control of one party right now. And there's nothing that's going to happen that's going to change that. There's no chance that anything's going to get shaken up because they can just not only print as many votes as they need with Dominion and create them. Now you can do same day registration if that gets through, which let's face it probably will. Mm-hmm. You got one party that's the active abuser in the relationship, and you got the one that's the passive enabler abuser of the relationship. And we're the kids, and we're getting the crap kicked out of us. And then we got the abusive grandpa, which is like our freaking the boomers that dumped all their problems, like financial problems, and like said, we're just going to take all this debt out.
Joe.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of Joe, I went back and I watched some of his old debates back in 2008. He's so freaking creepy. He's a creepy guy. He always looks like he's tired though. It's like he has wrinkles on his eyes. Like, Joe, aren't you doing enough crack with your son? Maybe you got to do some more crack and wake the F up. Sometimes that third cup of coffee just isn't enough. I need a little bit extra.
Well, he probably does, just to get to the point where he's, trying to remember, the thing.
I think I said this already last week, but there's a video of him where he's just sitting at the White House table and he's like, I don't even know what I'm signing. And he just signs it anyways. It's like, Does he know that's a hot mic? Because he just said that. Oh, what he meant to say is he just doesn't know where he is. Like, you can't spin that, bud. He doesn't know what's going on because he probably has dementia.
Yeah, what a wonderful press secretary he's got. Yeah.
I gotta send you a link to a video.
Yeah. But I just like what's the White House's plan to deal with the Robin Hood thing? Well, we have the first female Secretary of the Treasury. So yeah, we're in good hands.
She's got the right part, so therefore, shut up.
Yeah, but moving on.
I think this picture pretty accurately surmises my Wall Street. I gotta show you this. I'm pretty sure this picture right here. How do I do share screen? I'll do that right there.
Yeah, and I think I gave you the power to do it. So
yeah, this pretty much surmises Wall Street's reaction to all the stock
market shenanigans.
One thing I wanted to show you real quick. Speaking of the White House press secretary, let's see if we can find it real quick.
What is going on here? Okay.
It goes on for 1:30. She's not, and she's like, "Oh, funny. It's funny. I'm pretty. It's like,
well, you forgot to share sound again, but
did I forget to? How do you share sound?
I'll tell you afterwards. But yeah,
okay, I'll have to.
Let's.
Yeah.
Yeah, but moving on.
I'll have to. Did you not even hear the sound for that?
I could sort of hear it, but that's because it was coming from your headphones into your mic.
Oof. Okay. We'll probably have to cut that part out. So anyway.
Anyway, moving on to another point which made my blood run cold.
Did it?
It comes from section 1094 of the same act as previously mentioned, regarding the registration of minors. And it reads, and I quote, "In general, a state may not refuse to accept or process an individual's application to register to vote in elections for federal office on the grounds that the individual is under 18 years of age at the time the individual submits the application, so long as the individual is at least 16 years of age at such time." Wrong button.
So the Dems are trying to, they must be really scared about losing their power because they're trying to flood the border with a bunch of migrants who are going to vote consistently Democrat the whole time. And they want to have a Dominion pump out all the votes they need. And now they want minors who are probably, let's face it, probably going to almost pretty substantially vote leftists.
Yeah. Well, I will say that literally the next paragraph says, this is not meant to be taken as, letting 16-year-olds vote in the election yet.
That's what they're doing, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the movement is going towards. And, if this was written for like 17-year-olds who at time of registering, as long as they are 18 by the time election is taking place, I'd have no problem with that from a legal standpoint.
Do you remember so you remember when, let me give a quick example. I apologize for interrupting. There's a lady on Twitter who said, if anybody wanted to topple this big obelisk that may or may not be in Washington, D.C., she said, what you need to do is pull it back and forth till it topples over. And then she said in her tweet after, she says, don't topple the Washington Monument. Please do not do any damage to federal property. And I'm not condoning violence. But it's like saying, I'm shooting you in the face, but I don't condone violence. Or, oh, if you wanted to kill someone, not that I'm condoning and suggesting you should, but if you wanted to, you want to aim for the face.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. No animal shall kill another animal without cause.
They give themselves a loophole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually watched that movie the other night, and oh my god, that was weird. But anyway, back on 1094. Yeah,
is that what we're calling it now?
That's Section 1094 of the For the People Act as it stands. Oh. But still, it's
10 and you're 94 anytime, boy. Looking at you, he's like, whoo!
No, that was me rolling my eyes.
Your eyes went like this.
Yeah, well, it's because my camera is the generic one that comes with the computer, so it looks like a still.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Keep going.
Yeah, but in any case, like I said, from a legal standpoint, I'd have no problem saying, 17-year-olds can register to vote if they are 18 by the time elections are held. But why 16? Well, I mean, this movement has been around for years now, like many years. I can remember when this was a hot thing when I was in high school. Give 16-year-olds the right to vote. I'm like, and I'm speaking, as how I was at the time. I'm like, I don't know jack about life. I have no business voting in a federal election. And you know what? From my standpoint, I'm going to go accidentally alt-right here in a minute. This is my personal opinion. But if you don't have a mortgage or pay rent, if you don't have something other than a minimum, well, okay, I'm not going to go that far. Rescind that. If you don't have children to take care of, a family to look after, in my personal opinion, you have no business voting. You have no business deciding national policy for the rest of us who do, especially when your job is one that's kind of teetering on the balance with the current EPA system.
I can hear Haley right now seething in the comments going, but I had to tease her a little bit for that. But what your point you're making, Mike, is that you need not just responsibility for yourself, but you need to be in a situation in life to have the maturity, you're responsible for a lot of other people, including yourself.
That's sort of a basic way of putting it. Yes.
Yeah. You need to be in a position, right, to have this responsibility for yourself, to have the proper understanding of what it's like to have the responsibility of voting. Not that you want to exclude people, but that you have an impact on how the country's run. And that's important. And you're saying that there needs to be this level of life understanding to be effectively worthy of that requirement.
Pretty much.
Versus the Dems are like, we can just give it out to everybody everywhere. And it's like, that's...
Yeah, next thing you know, my 3-year-old, well, soon to be 3-year-old will be eligible to vote.
Yeah. Apparently Joe Biden really did a good job getting my great-grandmother to finally come out of her grave and vote for him. Like, man, I don't know what kind of recruiting he did. I don't know what kind of advertising or word of mouth, but man, I haven't seen her vote in years.
There's a little quip going around in my family, and I'm gonna. Oh, sorry, my bloody mic.
Bless you.
Thank you.
We open up a bar, and it's not Bloody Marys, it's Bloody Mikes.
Merch idea.
Merch idea, dude. Every episode
anyway,
we have a merch idea. It's a glass. It's a pint glass, but it says Bloody Mike's whatever on it. Anyway, please continue.
Well, there's a quip in my family. My great grandmother. Her name was Mabel. God rest her soul. Even in her grave, she would never vote Democrat. Because she would. If they ever tried to steal her identity, to use an election in their favor, she'd come back and haunt them to the end of their days. She was a stereotypical Irish, descendant of Irish immigrants lady, and traditional Catholic.
Ooh.
Long story short, no, I'm getting my great grandparents mixed up here for a minute. I mean, yeah, that story was correct, but I was thinking about.
Well, I'm happy she at least didn't vote Labour in the last election over the UK.
Well, she couldn't have. She was already in the United States. But
you never know sometimes.
But
Britain is coming back to take back their colonies. We're going to count their voters for our own so we can try to win this election.
Well, no, part of me is like, 2 more years into Biden's administration, I'm probably going to be the one going, that might not be so bad. The other half of me is probably going, let's go with the House of Habsburg.
Habsburg, more like perhapsburg.
Did you see it clearly that time?
I didn't actually that time. I'll give you a pass on that, but instant replay. Whoo.
But no, my great grandparents, Mabel and George, they used to have a goose named Leonard. And
what was his last name?
I don't know.
Leonard Skinner.
Oh, for heaven's sakes!
Leonard
but no,
Boy?
it's. Will you stop interrupting, please?
Continue.
Anyway, one day, my great grandpa went to go get some eggs, and Leonard wouldn't let him. So at dinner that night, they had chicken. It was like, and I think it was my great grandma went, "Where's Leonard?" He was good, wasn't he? What does that have to do with the For the People Act? Nothing whatsoever.
Maybe they should call it For Leonard Act. No, no,
vengeance for Leonard.
Vengeance for dude. If they can have a freaking movement for all of 2016 for a freaking gorilla getting shot, I'm pretty sure we could get one. Justice for Leonard. Leonard rights now. End apartheid.
Apartheid.
Bless you.
I correct you on what was it, a German or a Dutch word?
Yes.
One of those two, and never mind.
It's both.
Yeah, it actually.
You got a regular here, boys. Yeah. Yeet.
I'm gonna have to edit this up the wazoo.
You could just bleep his name out.
Yes, I know.
Please, you can just bleep his last name out.
Anyway, now that we've beaten this segment to death and much more,
just like Leonard. I don't know why that's so funny. Bleep Mash is gonna be like, everyone's gonna be talking, then it'll be like, it's really tragic. What, Leonard? Press F for Leonard, boys.
Well, we're losing time here. Can I get on to our final segment before we close her down?
Proceed.
Thank you. So, on Facebook, I do follow some of these anti-fascist groups just because from time to time I need a laugh. And one came up the other day. It was from the Hudson Valley Antifascist, totally not an organization, it is an idea network. It was symbols of fascism at the Capitol or something like that. Let me bring it up for you. And here it is. Yeah, a guide to fascist symbolism at the Capitol. And just looking at this, okay. QAnon, okay, I'm not going to call them fascist, but they are kind of weird and out there.
Yep.
Don't tread on me, seriously. That's generally associated with libertarians. You don't get much more anti-fascist than that. I mean, any less of a fascist and you're dealing with anarchy.
Is that a Kekistan battle flag? Oh my god.
I have no idea.
So no, that is Kekistan. That's a joke. I remember the
is that
the green one down there.
Yeah, is that the same one as like?
It's not. That's Kazakhstan. So the joke on 8chan and 4chan was that their god was like, so it comes from the phrase top kek, as in top lel, right? That was the joke. They made up this god called All Praise Kek. It's this meme, right? And they said, we have our own, authoritarian government too. We're called Kekistan, boys. It's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
The armor of God is fascist. Are you kidding me? What kind of a show is this?
We'll get to that. But this, especially this down here, the 3%ers. The group advocates gun ownership rights, which, it's there to prevent government tyranny, but it's also said it's an anti-government militia. No, it's not anti-government per se. It's just anti-government infringing on people's rights. But that's just my warm-up. Nationalist symbolism. My first reaction when I saw this page was, one of these things is not like the others.
It's ridiculous.
Now, I live in the South. I kind of brush that flag aside. Yeah, I tend not to this. I tend not to approve of it. Although it is funny because 9 times out of 10, when I see that flag flying down here, it's actually flying upside down. I'm wondering if some of these people who do fly it down here actually notice it. But as I said before, the Gadsden flag as a fascist symbol.
Mm-hmm.
You have got to be flipping kidding me. As I mean, libertarians, most of them, the way I describe libertarianism in a nutshell is they're just liberals pretending to be conservatives. For the most part, libertarians, aren't gonna care, what you do in the bedroom. They're not gonna care what stall you go into the bathroom. In general. Okay, maybe they'll take exception to the latter, but
fake news.
But it's kind of hard to be a fascist government when it's about the size of a peanut. Oh, some people's kids. Thanks.
You did walk into that one.
Yes, I did. But
you walked right into that one.
Our Lady of Czestochowa, pray for me.
Amen.
But yeah, all right. So, and as you just pointed this one out, this started out as a freaking joke. What is it, Kekistan?
Yep.
And yeah. Here it is. The Kekistan movement symbolized with grief. Wow. I mean, Proud Boys, I'm kind of iffy on them myself.
I don't know anything about them.
And I don't know much about them either. Here we go. Anti-Semitic symbolism. First thing I see is QAnon.
I don't know if QAnon said it's a Jewish cabal though. But same point.
Yep. I don't know. But yeah, the first thing, whenever I hear about QAnon, the first thing going through my mind is not anti-Semitism. The first thing that's going to my mind is, okay, we're dealing with a guy who probably has peanuts for a brain. I've heard some of Q's theories, and far-fetched would be an understatement. But again, I digress. I don't know much about the rest of these movements. Okay, SS runes and the Death's Head I can see being problematic.
Yeah. Well, they also need a cat's. If you think about it, Mike, in a more of a serious tone, they're trying to take all the undesirables. What did Hillary call them back in 2016?
Deplorables.
Right. put them all in one big umbrella. So you have this persecute. You could just put one label on them, and then you could persecute them, do whatever you want with them. What's going to happen? Well, I was noticing on that page there a second ago, and I would point this out to my Nordic friends. You know who you are, my one, technically two, is they're using Nordic symbols, but what they're doing is that they're trying to change these Nordic symbols, not these activist groups, but the people that turn against the activist groups, say, "Oh, these Nordic symbols are racism, 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 racism." Like they just chant this to themselves, and they're trying to say, "Oh, if you have these symbols, they're basically it's taking symbols that have nothing to do with any political party right now or any political movement, and they're trying to say it's political, and they're hijacking it." And it's like, no, it's just because you got Thor's hammer around your neck doesn't mean that you're a white supremacist, but good luck telling them that. They know everything, and they know exactly what the truth is, and there's no doubt in their mind. So good luck trying to persuade them of that. Mike, what do you think of this Christian nationalist symbolism?
Oh, where do I start? Where do I begin? First off, we just have some people who appear to just be praying, which nothing inherently fascist or Christian nationalist about it. But, Christian nationalism and evangelism, oh boy, we got a problem there because my mother isn't evangelical. Yeah, many believe, wow, they actually spelled believe wrong. I'm just noticing this now.
They also spelled God's wrong.
Yes, they did. I believe Trump was God's chosen leader.
They made it some paint too.
It may have, most I can make out of what I've seen on Facebook with this sort of stuff is mostly symbolic / poetic language. I seriously doubt there are many out there who literally believe that God by divine right ordained Donald Trump in the same way he, for example, ordained Peter.
Yeah.
I do like what Michael Voris pointed out once, when I still follow Church Militant, is he's not necessarily God's chosen in the same way like God chose David. He's more or less the unlikely champion that just came out of what we had.
Yeah. Well, I think Trump was also.
Most of these are just generic Christian symbols, like a guy wearing a cross on his shirt.
Yeah. Well, technically, it's a Crusader-looking shirt, but the Crusades.
Yes, but in my experience, and I've seen quite a bit of this on Facebook, most of them aren't interested in just going up to the Temple Mount, having blood run up to their knees, which is largely exaggeration, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tons. If you start actually looking into the actual history of the Crusades and the stuff that took place before the Crusades, you realize that this sort of modern narrative of Christian, because people say like to deflect criticism of Islam, and no, mostly just they just use it to deflect criticism of Islam. Like, well, the Christians were violent too, and the response is, look at the Crusades, because it's the only thing they could come
warfare up back in those days was pretty dang brutal.
It was, but you also look at. We should do an episode on the Crusades because there's a lot of information that it's like, nope, the Crusades are not at all what you think they were, and Christians did not start it, and they were not the aggressors, and they did not commit all these atrocities. So there's a lot more going on that we should talk about sometime.
Mm-hmm.
But
and of course, just a generic sign, Jesus saves, is now apparently a fascist symbol.
You'd be hilarious, Mike, is if somebody photoshopped in money on Geico right next to that.
Good one.
Anyway,
I think, and of course, status symbolism. If you back the blue, you're a fascist, apparently. Even though overall statistics are not in your favor. And I think that's actually the last one. Yep, yeah, that was the last one.
Mike, do you notice with all these pictures, all they're doing is just accusing them of white supremacy and nationalism. All they're saying is they're white supremacists. They're just putting labels on them. They're not presenting any information or arguments. They're just saying, oh, they're a white supremacist, or therefore, because they support America, they weren't colonizers, they're occupiers. And it's like, they weren't occupiers. The colonials were not occupiers. Don't call them occupiers. Actually, it's funny. I met some Palestinian women the other day, and they didn't call the the Israelis. They didn't call them Israelis. They called them the occupiers. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. That's a really interesting way of putting it.
And I'm going to keep my mouth firmly shut for the sake of my job, which I've had to do a couple times when I worked for Dollar General. I literally had a lady come in one day when I was working and say that, if she had the power, Catholics would be in concentration camps.
How old was she?
She was fairly old. I don't know her exact age, but she was a little bit infuriating.
Of course, because she wanted to tell you how informed and enlightened her opinion was to literally everyone that walks by, and shows you how completely... Mike, you want to hear her saying? So I've heard that opinions are usually the price you pay for them. So in her case, if you didn't pay for her advice, you can imagine how much value is in anything she was saying.
Yeah, I just sort of wrote it off as, just set out of anger. Because, this was like 2016, like fresh after the election. So I just took it as a statement made in anger.
Yeah, she probably watches CNN all day long.
But that's beside the point. And unfortunately, we are running out of time. As a matter of fact, we overshot our time by about 10 minutes.
We can edit about 10 minutes out, I'm sure.
Yep. I can certainly censor about 10 minutes of information. Thank you very much.
You only have like 30 seconds of things to censor out, bud.
Not when I'm filming with you, I don't.
You sound resentful, but I know on the inside you're like, yeah, that was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that was our guide to fascist symbolism. Good Lord. Anyway, so without further ado, it is close to our closing time. So, Mr. Benks, your book quote, please. As I duck and weave my... Sorry, my mic cut out again.
If you want something done, ask a busy person. Benjamin Franklin.
If you want something done, ask a busy person. I could sort of see what he's getting at, although you don't want to find someone who's too busy or too busy in their own mind.
What he's trying to say is that usually busy people are pretty industrious and they usually get it done pretty quick.
That is true. And if you want something done overnight, you call the Marines.
How long does it take for the Air Force to do it?
Well, to my knowledge, they're still working on it.
Oh, great. The Air Force is now tech support for the Army. Fuck. Maybe that's why they have the AC.
Probably. Anyway, sorry.
I was going to say my brother's probably sitting in the comments going, oh, these guys. Oh, boy.
Right.
He's like, lol, XD.
Right. Anyway, we are out of time. So sad. Sorry. But want to thank you guys so much for watching, taking the time out of your busy schedule to enjoy our content as much as you can enjoy getting your teeth pulled out.
Whoa, I was enjoying myself, Mike. I would hope you enjoyed yourself too.
Of course I did. That's why I made a joke about it.
You made a joke about getting your teeth pulled. Oh, scandalous.
Well, anyway,
I should have made the Frollo witchcraft joke now. Teeth pulled witchcraft.
First of all, he says witchcraft.
He's got the voice.
Oh, you should see. You should hear me sing Hellfire. I can make it almost sound like a carbon copy.
I will pay you $20 to do this next episode.
No. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I almost got mixed up in my order there, but we appreciate your guys' feedback. We appreciate your guys' time. And if you have an idea you want to recommend to us, please send it our way. We'd love to hear recommendations from you guys. And Benks, you want to say your bit?
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. So without further ado, we're going to say good night, God bless, and Pax et Bonum!
Howdy, folks. If you like what you saw, be sure to follow us on Facebook. And now, on Rumble. And coming soon to MeWe. God bless.